Hello there guys, on this video we're going to be talking about this, which is the way that Dextools and Poocoin show you the sale tax, which is often much higher than the sale tax actually is. This coin, GRC, has a 10% buy tax and an 11% sale tax, but it's currently being shown at 17 on Poocoin. Now that's not correct, but it's also not wrong. If a person was to sell tokens right now, they would actually lose 17% of the money that they would expect to get when selling tokens if this token had no tax whatsoever. However, they're not being taxed 17%, it's just something else is going on in the background that's to do with tokenomics that is going to cause the price of the token to drop before their sale goes through. So that's why it's showing a 17% tax. So it is correct, but it's also not correct as well. So we're going to dig into exactly what's going on here so you can understand it if you've seen this on a token. What you will see is the buy tax will be, on this case, 10%, the sell tax, in this case, 11%, and then sometimes, but not all the time, it suddenly goes up. And it goes up, and sometimes it goes up quite high, and then it drops back down to what it should be again. So I'm going to explain why that is with the help of some graphics. So let me just zoom back out. So here we go. This is PancakeSwap. These are tokens and BNB in PancakeSwap, kind of like a liquidity pool. These, excuse me, these are people that have got some BNB and they want to buy some tokens. And this over here represents the actual smart contract of the token itself. So that token was GRC. This represents the smart contract of GRC. Or in this case, Doge, because that's the logo I've used. So this is, it's a little bit like, it's a bit like your wallet. It can hold tokens and it can hold BNB. Now, let's imagine that this particular token has a 10% tax when you buy and when you sell. So what we cannot do, let's just say for a minute, this is a 1-for-1. So this person's going to put this much money in, and they're going to get this many tokens out. So one big and one small. Imagine that this is 90% and this is 10% of 100% being the total here. We've got a 10% tax. So what you might imagine that we'd do is when this person buys tokens, rather than this money going into here, 10% of it comes to us as the tax. And then the person gets the tokens that they're due. That doesn't happen. We can't do that. That isn't possible. But what we can do, oh bollocks. But what we can do is we can put this money into PancakeSwap, which is essentially buying these tokens here. That's what the guy's just bought. But because there's a 10% tax, he only gets 90% of what he's paid for. So he gets 90% of the tokens, and we get the other 10% of tokens. Now, what we don't do at this stage, but we could, we don't immediately sell those tokens back to PancakeSwap and take out some BNB and send it to the marketing wallet. We could do that, but normally the fee on one transaction is very, very small. So the amount of money that we get when we sell that fee and get tokens is going to be tiny. We have to send it to a wallet. You know, the process of actually selling the tokens costs gas as well. It's just not worth it. And also, when we do this, when we swap the tokens that have accumulated from fees into BNB for the marketing wallet, it shows on the chart as a sell. So we don't want to put too many red candles on the chart from contract sales. So those are a couple of things that we don't do. But what we do, as I said before, let's put everything back as it was. So this dude's got his BNB. What we actually do in practice is this dude has just paid this much money for tokens, so we put that in PancakeSwap. He gets 90% of whatever he's paid for, and the other 10% is actually sent to the contract itself. So tokens are stored in the contract. Now let's imagine let's just get another one of these. Oh, I've just minted some tokens. I'm so evil. Let's imagine that this girl is now going to do the same thing. So she's buying the same amount of tokens, 10% tax, just like before. She gets 90% and we get the other 10%. So you can see now that we're starting to accumulate some tokens on the contract. Now, if we carried on doing this process, sooner or later, we're going to have to sell these tokens and get some BNB for marketing. And when we do that, the contract itself will sell the tokens. That will be a sell on the chart. The price will go down and we'll get some BNB. So we get these. Let's sell them both at the same time. We plonk them in there, and in return we get a little bit of BNB. I'm going to put them up here, so I'll stop selecting that. We get a bit of BNB, and we then spend it on marketing. So that's the way the process works. Now, that process of the contract selling these tokens to get the marketing money, we can't just make that happen. We have to get something to trigger that to happen. And because of the limitations of Solidity, the thing we need to use to trigger this happening is a person selling tokens. So when we've got enough tokens here in order for us to sell them to marketing, the next person that sells tokens, let's put this back over here again. The next person that sells tokens actually triggers the contract. Oh, hang on, I'll leave one of these in here. So let's imagine that's our accumulated fees, and this is a person that's got some tokens. So this person is about to sell their tokens. So they're about to sell tokens, take BNB out. But the contract is also ready to process the fees. So this person sells their tokens, which triggers the contract to sell its tokens. The contract gets its BNB from selling the tokens, it goes to the marketing wallet, and then after that, this person gets their BNB for the tokens that they've sold. Now, unfortunately, that's the way we have to do it. What we cannot do, I don't know why, it just doesn't seem to work. What we can't do, which would be much, much nicer, is this. We can't say this person sells his tokens and gets his BNB, which triggers the contract to sell its tokens and get its BNB. We can't do that. So because the contract has to get its BNB first, that means that when the contract gets its BNB, the price goes down. So this person sells their tokens when the price is at, let's say, 100. The contract is then triggered to sell tokens and take BNB back out of liquidity for marketing. That drops the price by, let's imagine, 10%. So this person now gets their BNB, but it's less than they expected because the price of the token has dropped. So that shift in price is being calculated by Poocoin and reflected in this number right here. So the person is being charged 11% tax on the sale, and there's also a 6% shift in price. So when you add those two things together, it's actually 17% that this person is going to miss out on. Now that sounds incredibly unfair, but it's actually completely accurate. If we were doing this process of the contract was selling the tokens to BNB on every single transaction, then this person would still be getting exactly the same price as they are getting at the moment. It's just that we wouldn't see this. This would always be 11%. It's just that as the contract was selling the tokens for BNB for marketing, it would have put loads of little red candles on the chart, and rather than us being here, we'd be down here somewhere because we would have already sold them and already caused the price to drop. So the person does get exactly what they would get anyway. It's just that it looks like they were going to get more. So when they look at the amount their tokens are worth in their bag, if they're the person that is about to trigger the contract to process the fees, then unfortunately they're going to get less tokens than they expect, but they do get the right amount based on those fees were actually taken before this person sold. They're not processed yet, but they were taken before the person sold. So I've got to say, in an ideal world, what we would do instead is process the tokens into BNB on every single transaction. We can't do that because we'd just have a load of red down here. It would be every sell would be 2 lines of red in the same second, in the same transaction. Loads of people would think it's bots, and there would be a load of fear, uncertainty and doubt, a load of FUD on the token. We also don't want to do that because it costs gas, and it's a bit stupid if we're paying more gas to process the fees than we're actually getting back in marketing money. I mean, to be honest, we don't pay the gas. The person who sells the tokens pay the gas and we get the marketing money, so it doesn't affect us, but it's just a bit stupid, isn't it, to pay more gas than what comes back out, regardless of who's paying it and who's getting what comes back out. It just makes no sense. So there we go, that's what causes the process. If a person was to sell one token right now on this, it would actually drop down to 11% because it would process the fees. In fact, I might do that. So let me trade. I will buy one token. Right. Buying tokens does nothing. So this isn't going to affect anything whatsoever. Did you see that gas I had to pay $1 to buy it? I mean, look, it's a ridiculous amount of gas for one token. It's because it's a rewards token, and rewards tokens have to take gas in order to pay people the rewards. So they're a little bit more expensive when you buy and sell. Now, if I now sell my token that I bought, you'll see that on the chart, we'll get 2 sales in the same second, and the price will drop. There'll be a big red candle, and it'll look like I did both those sales, but I didn't. My sell will be for a fraction of a token, and then the contract itself will sell the tokens that have accumulated, which are required for the fees. So the stuff that's in the contract waiting to feed the BUSD rewards, waiting to pay marketing, and in this case, waiting to buy gold, because that's what this token does. So if I trade, and I trade my... See, I've got a 10% tax because I got 0.9 tokens. So we know I got the right amount of tax when I bought. I've got to approve it. I'll just use the default. Come on, let me go down. There we go. Right, so when I sell this, we are going to see 2 transactions in the same second. And then you will also see that this 17 will change. I'm not sure if it's 11 or 12, but it will go back down to whatever it should be. So we'll sell our 0.9 of a token. And when this goes through, you're going to see that the price will drop on the chart because the contract will sell. So the contract sold $161 worth. I sold nothing. But you see the contract got in first. So the contract dropped the price of the token before my sell went through. So I got penalised 17% on that sell transaction. I got 17% less than I would do if there were no fees whatsoever. So that's kind of what's going on here. And as you can see, because we've got these 2 sells in the same second, in the same transaction, we don't want that too often. So we don't want to do this on every single transaction. It is fair the way it's working, but it just looks a little bit unfair because every now and again, one person gets charged a lot of tax. So it says 17%. That should go away if we refresh it. Might take a bit of time though. There we go. Look, it was 12. So now it's saying 12%. And that's because the contract isn't waiting to process any fees. Now that will stay on 12% through at least the next 10 transactions. This contract will trigger the fee processing after 10 transactions with a fee. So once it's done that, the contract is then waiting to process the fees, and the cost of that price drop when it processes the fees will be reflected in this. So to begin with, that will be quite small. But we can only trigger the contract to process the fees when someone sells. So if a lot of people buy without someone selling, there's going to be more fees to process, and that will drop the price even more. So this number will start to creep up and up and up. And then as soon as somebody sells anything at all, even if it's like I just did, just a fraction of a token, it will drop back down to the correct amount, which is 12%. I kept saying 11, but it was 12. So now we want to look at this. So 2 transactions in the same second. If you ever see this on a token, it's not a bot, it is the token processing fees. There is a token out there, I'm not going to mention its name out of fear of them suing me, but there's a guy out there that's got a token that's doing this, and every time he sees it, he thinks it's a bot and he's blacklisting people. I've tried to get him to not do it. The guy's a freaking idiot. He has no idea what he's doing. He shouldn't be in charge of a token, and it's incredibly frustrating. We've sent them letters in the post and all sorts of stuff, but they're still doing it, and it is incredibly wrong. Incredibly wrong. The guy has no clue what he's doing. But this is not a bot. So I'll click on it, and you'll see a lot of stuff is happening. In this particular token, there's a huge amount of stuff going on with BUSD as well because it's a rewards token. But look out for this, look, Pancake LPs. The token just created some liquidity. It's added to the liquidity pool. It also made some marketing money that went to the marketing wallet, and it also it allocated some money that's in a wallet that's going to be used to actually buy some gold. So it's doing a whole load of stuff. So whenever you see those 2 transactions, if you click on them, you're going to see something like this, which is very, very different to a normal transaction. So let's just click on this one here. This is a normal transaction. So, you know, very different. That one previously, this is just the contract processing the tokenomics, doing what it should do. But every time it does it, you see this same transaction, same second, me selling my tokens, triggering the contract to sell the tokens that are allocated to fees, and then my sale goes through second. That's the way we have to do it. We're very, very limited in Solidity with what we can do. We're limited by the DEX, we're limited by the code. There's a lot of restrictions as to the way that we can process things. It is better to do this infrequently rather than doing it on every transaction, but unfortunately by doing it infrequently, it means that every now and then this number will be displayed very differently from the actual tax of the token. It says sell tax, but what it is the sell tax and the price impact of the person selling. Now there is a tiny workaround that I've started doing recently for this, and that is if the contract is ready to process the fees, then the next person that sells will be automatically excluded from having to pay the fee. They're still going to get penalised because there's still going to be that price impact of the contract selling first, but it's going to be mitigated a little bit by the fees being removed. So that's something that I've very, very recently started doing on my contracts once I realised what is causing this, to kind of be a little bit nice to that person. But to be honest, this is fair. That looks bad, but it's fair. Those fees, as I said before, those fees were taken before that person sold. Those fees are earmarked for marketing, liquidity, and that stuff. And we could have already sold them to BNB. It's completely fair that when I sold my fraction of a token I had to pay 17%. I didn't get 17% of the money that sale would have made if there were no fees at all. That's correct. It's fair. It just doesn't look fair. So there we go, guys. I hope that clears that up for you. It's something that's been bugging me for a while. On quite a few of my other videos, I have been saying that Dextools and Poocoin display the sell tax wrong. They do and they don't. It's not tax. It's a price impact of a contract sale, but it is an accurate reflection of what you're going to get back. Take care. Have an awesome day. Bye-bye.